Yeah, this is going out to Boxing Bros UK. Tune in. These boys are real.
Boxing Bros UK here. Gracing us with his presence today, Mark Hunt.
Yo, yes, what's up? Thanks for having me on your show, guys. Appreciate it.
So, right, let's get into it. If there's anything you can't talk about, just let me know. But like I said before, this is an independent channel. I do this shit for free because I love boxing, and anyone can sue me. I ain't got any fucking money, so go ahead. I don't care.
You know, before you go ahead, you know, the reason why the UFC and those Dana White hasn't sued me for anything for defamation because the onus would be on them to prove it. And guess what? Them trying to prove me defaming them is what? They're wrong because everything they've done is actually material fact and evidenced. Everything they've done to me, I have on paper material facts. This is why. And so, you know, there's like I said, they can't sue you for defamation because, like I said, they got to prove it's, that they didn't do it.
So the first question, this is my good friend Matt Pomora. He writes for Ring Magazine. Like he's been published in there a few times. He's a Yank, but I like him. He's a good guy. So
there's nothing wrong with Americans.
Yeah. Why do you think Dana White has circumvented the drug testing process? I don't even really know what that means, but go ahead.
He's done that. Well, from what I saw with USADA, what they did for Lesner is they let him off. They gave him a pass, and the reason why they didn't do it again and they split ways with UFC is because of my lawsuit. My lawsuit shows when they try to give UFC try to give Conor McGregor a pass. I did say to the USADA boss, I said, you guys are. It doesn't matter whether you took a little bit of a bite of the pie or a big bite of the pie. You still bit the pie. You are part of this, you know. And the statute of limitation is gone for me suing them because they already. Because the time has gone past, plus they've also fired those people that did that to me. And now he's got some bodgy, the UFC have their own testing, you know, like some jackass that's part of this whole RICO case, you know, doing these laws, giving them out jackets for 50 clean tests. Bitch, isn't that in your contract? Cleaning fighters? Isn't that normal to be a part of it? Why are you giving out jackets if they're testing clean? I don't get that.
So what do you mean jackets?
So this dickhead named Jeff Novinsky, right? He gives out jackets when they test clean. Here's your jacket, a UFC jacket for 50 drug test free clean. These guys are just they're imbeciles because they have these rules in place and rules and regulations. But the problem is, when do they enforce them? When they did it to me, they could have enforced all their laws and rules. They could have taken off Lesnar's money. But what do they tell me? No, Mr. Hunt, we've obligated our contract with Mr. Lesnar. Okay, so you're lying. So your contracts are void and rubbish like them, like you.
So what? What are you saying? They gave him a jacket to say that he's had 50 tests and he actually hasn't.
No. What I'm saying is, broadly, with the UFC testing policies, they got a guy named Jeff Novinsky, who caught the Lance Armstrong, right? So he goes out and every person that tests 50 tests clean, he gives them a jacket. Like, why would you give someone a jacket that tests clean for? It's like, so that means these guys are promoting steroids.
Right. I get you. Okay.
You have a contract that says, why am I having a contract that says no PEDs, no this? So why do they have to? And their testing is only by people inside there that works for their company. Just like USADA when they split ways. The reason they split ways is because of my lawsuit, you know, and guaranteed, like I said, that they haven't got away with this. People, you know, the whole globe thinks that they got away with this by, you know, knowingly knowing and allowing this guy to you know, Brock Lesnar to go through and fight while he was dirty, you know, and with, you know, anyway. I think that's what answers your question.
Yeah, like it is a serious problem in combat sports, and it's dangerous.
Not just combat sport, all contact sport, all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like there's all different agencies, like we've seen with Conor Benn and stuff. Like, oh, pass the drug test in America, and I'm banned in England, so let me go and fight in America. And it should just be one independent governing body, but then we talk about funding, and it's just an absolute shit show. One question that he told me to ask: your lawsuits, they're nearly over and stuff. Did you have to pay that out of your own pocket, or is it kind of thing? If you lose, you got to pay for theirs and yours. Or if you win, they have to pay for yours and theirs. Like, how's it working?
Well, I'm already on the hook for I think it's like $350,000 US or $400,000 US. But I've I've filed for a writ of certiorari, which is I went from the Ninth Circuit. They've made me a pro se litigant myself, so they made me the lawyer because the lawyer I had, well, the two lawyers I've had, the previous counsels I've had, I feel, but the first one I know was 100% corrupt, Christina Denning. The next one, Propak from New York, a Jewish guy, he just took my money and left me at the altar. So I had mediation with the UFC for this case. And he said, I paid him 15,000 US and he wanted the 20,000, the more 20,000 to pay him.
Your own money.
And I couldn't get the money on the day, so to be honest. And then he said to me on the day, he said, "Look, I'm leaving this case, and I'm not even worrying about this case." So he left me at the altar with no recourse. And so the Ninth Circuit made me a pro se litigant. They made me the lawyers. They cut through the red tape. So, I've just been able to file a lawsuit against Christina Denning after 7.5 years, because the damages that came from this lawsuit with the UFC. Because when the Ninth Circuit mandated their ruling, they threw the case out. But they didn't actually throw the case out. They mandated and said, indeed, the evidence is there. It's in the language. They said, indeed, the evidence is there. But as a Ninth Circuit, they couldn't do anything about it. So they said, and they said you have options. File en banc, or you can file for a writ of certiorari. I filed for en banc. They denied that. So it had to be a writ of certiorari. I mean, it only has 1%. People say you get 1%. Like out of the 8,000 there gets filed every year, only 1% make it through. Yes. It depends on if there's a circuit split in the case, which there was a lot. Maybe 5 or 6 circuit splits. If this case has national importance, which it does, it affects all contact sport. Not just combat, all contact sport. It affects insurances. It changes their constitution. This lawsuit changes their constitution. Well, people don't really, they sit there and they think that I'm delusional and crazy and I got CT, but clearly you can see I've not. It's them and their PR machine that
my friend.
Yeah, they have put this narrative on me, on my account, saying I've got CT, I'm crazy, and I'm crazy to a certain extent, but I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing here. 100%. So these, it's taken a long time to get to where it is. It didn't take long for Christina's the Hunt lawsuit to get to where it is, to be honest, because all the briefing, the filing that I did, I put all the exhibits on the case. As a pro se litigant, I could do that. I couldn't do that as a lawyer, and especially being a diversity case. I'm in Australia here. I'm in Sydney. I'm fighting this lawsuit in America as a pro se. So, to be honest, when I look at this, as a prize fighter for, 33 years, as a pro over 21, to be able to come and change and do this as a lawyer, it was a lot of hard work. And, and like I said, it didn't take long for this case to get to where it is with Christina because it's all material evidence.
Okay.
Her case is done, and all we're waiting for now is for the judges to make a ruling on whether it should go to mediation or through to when they want arbitration under California law. And I'm like this, well, it's all public. It's on the docket. It's all public. This is at the district court in Nevada, to be honest. So that's this case. The other case, I'm waiting for the writ of certiorari to be approved. It's the Supreme Court has asked Colby Williams, who's Dana White's lawyer, and Brock Lesnar's lawyer, they have either two things. They file a briefing because the court's asked them what's happening with this case, what happened here, or they could just have a waiver and say, I don't want to say anything. So, I know why they won't say anything, because when you're walking the plank and you're about to be pushed over by the pirate, what are you going to say?
Say nothing. Say nothing.
No, you'll say, please, anything. Help me, God. You'll say anything. You're about to get pushed over the plank, right? And I'm there gonna give you the Sparta kick through the, to the thing, and you want to say nothing? Why? Why don't you say something?
Yeah, yes. So what do you think the outcome of it's going to be? Do you know? And can Dana White just keep fucking about and pumping money into the solicitors and outlast you in court hearings to the money because he's got more money? Because that's what Conor Benn did with his test in Britain. He kept on running it, and the British Boxing Board of Control couldn't afford to keep it going, so they had to let him off in the end.
Really? I think they settled that out of court. Did they settle that out of court?
Because, like, they can say what they want. They could not afford, the British Boxing Board of Control, to keep on going at him in court. So they just settled it and said, right, you haven't boxed for 2 years in England. Let's just leave it here. But they didn't really want to reinstate him. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. Ollie, what do you think about that? And that happened to you.
Sorry, I lost you a bit there, mate. Was you asking me a question there?
I just said, what do you think about the Conor Benn situation? I like what I just said about basically he just...
Right, I got you. Yeah. So Conor Benn, I mean, it's a tricky situation because I don't know the ins and outs of it from any sort of official source, right? Whereas you hear damning stories about it and then you hear the opposite end where it looks like he did nothing wrong. So it's quite difficult to comment, do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you don't know, right? It could be all one way, it could be all the other. The reality is the truth's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, for sure. But and to you,
and the thing is with Mark's case now is like, for anyone who doesn't know, the fight we're talking about, Brock Lesnar, Mark, I believe was in 2016, right? So it's been going on an awful long time now.
And the reason it's been going on such a long time is because my first counsel was corrupted. You know, and I didn't get the evidence until later. She sealed all the evidence from discovery with their lawyers. Right now, like I said, it didn't take me long to weed her out and find her out. And I could only sue her after the Ninth Circuit mandated the damages. You know, for her, you know, to do what she did. And like I said, I don't have the evidence of her getting the money transaction, but what I do have is all her actions as she did on the docket by sealing the evidence, forgery. There was 6 times this case was supposed to be was asked for mediation. She only told me about one of them. Even Brock Lesnar wanted to settle this, but I never got told about that. She's done forgery. She's done so much wrong. To be honest, but with any civil RICO case, after a civil RICO case comes a criminal case. Okay. So when you asked me before about Dana White, that's the reason why he's going from UFC, because he's a liability to them now. He's going to be going to boxing because he's going to go and try and steal from you guys now. That's the problem with these promoters like Don King and Dana White, because he's a criminal. And that's where this criminal goes. He goes from criminal leech. He's going to go from this to being in jail. So this is a civil RICO case, and all he's done is evidenced.
Right. Okay.
People been laughing at me for years, saying you can't put. He's got too much money. He's got too much. But what unequivocally ties Dana White to this lawsuit of mine is the $600 million he made from the sale of zulfer from the sale of their company.
Right.
From that Brock Lesnar fight. That's what ties him to this case.
Because that's what I wanted to see, like, because it's been going on for so long. Is there a chance of him keep giving you the runaround and fucking you about until you run out of money?
It doesn't. As a pro se litigant, it only costs $3 or $4 to file something. It's hard enough
yourself. Smart move.
That's what a pro se litigant is. I said that to you many times. But like I said, the filing and sending stuff to America now is hard. You can only send documents because of Donald Trump. You can't see, you know. But the thing is, like I said, with the civil RICO case comes a criminal case after this. So, you know, undoubtedly, there's no way that Trumps can help this guy. The Supreme Court, in my eyes, are not corrupted. They don't muck around. You know, they're going to fix what has been wronged here by the law, just like the district court is going to fix what Christina Denning has done to me. What ties them to this case is all the material evidence.
For sure. And this is like, because Dana White, he seemed like he's going to be the savior of boxing. Everything he was saying was great. However, I found it very suspicious. All these things that you're saying that you want to do is great, but you want to get rid of the Muhammad Ali Act. Now, if people don't know, the Muhammad Ali Act is an act, that was named after Muhammad Ali, that complete transparency of every boxing show. So the bottom to the top. How much money has been made from the show. They might sign contracts, they can get a flat fee, or they get a percentage of the pay-per-view money. So if you're trying to say this is going to be great for boxing, everyone's going to fight the best, everyone's going to make great money, why don't you want the fighters to see what the fuck's going on with the money? And Max Kellerman is another shithouse. He had him on the show and he didn't ask him that question direct. Everything you're saying is great, but why don't you want the fighters to see what's going on in the show? So like they can like say the fight did 10 billion pay-per-view buys, but you're only giving them 5 million and you're keeping the rest. Like, I don't know why Max Kellerman didn't ask him that question, and no one has, because that's what everyone wants to know. So this is what I find very suspicious, like, about Dana White. Like, why? And that act is there to protect the fighters, and that's why in boxing they earn a lot more money than what in the mixed martial arts world, because of the Muhammad Ali Act, because they know what's on the table. So I just don't get it. And now, after speaking with you, yeah, I'm thinking Dana White seems like a snaky little bastard, to be honest.
Well, look, the only reason why he's going to box it because he's going to be he's already out getting pushed out by UFC because he doesn't own that company anymore. A guy named Mario Emanuel owns the company. He's Costec, they sold the company for $4 billion, but this prick Dana White's cost him more now. They cost him more with this company because of this lawsuit, because of what he did. He's trying to go over to boxing. End of the day, he's gonna go hiding somewhere in the desert somewhere because, like I said, after a civil RICO case comes a criminal case.
Yeah,
people laugh at me and say, "You can't put him in jail." Well, I can't, but my lawsuit will. The Supreme Court will.
I hope so, because when people are,
I don't
it's not right. What's going on?
I don't hope anymore. I know.
Yes, preach. Anything to add, Ollie, before we round up?
Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear it from that point of view because, as I'm sure Mark knows, when you hear things online, it's always very skewed one way or the other, right? It's always either very pro Dana White or very sort of anti Dana White. So to hear it from someone who's obviously involved, it gives you a different perspective. And when you're talking about boxing and the Muhammad Ali Act, on the face of it, that's one where you'd go, it's got to be a bad thing for the fighters. But then you hear the other side of that too, where the UFC, as much as they don't get as much money as boxing at the top level, there's a lot of fighters in boxing, and you'll know this, Chris, that are getting, very small money low down the card. So I think their argument, from what I understand, and again, this is just public, whatever's out there on podcasts and whatnot, is that they spread the money out more. But then the counter argument to that I've heard as well is that it's not as transparent. So it's all kind of, do you see where I'm coming from? It's all up in the air in terms of what you hear. So to hear it from Mark of like his experience is an interesting angle.
Well, look, man, all I can see from is the history. If you look at the history of it, Dana White he lies about everything. He's actually and the reason why people when people talk to him is that, why don't you ask him? People to ask the reporters ask Dana White about Mark Hunt and the lawsuit. Why don't they ask him and say, Dana, what's happening with the Mark Hunt lawsuit? And what also says, he says, Mark's a bit of a delusional guy. Why don't they keep asking him that question about what's happening with the lawsuit now? He's a bit of a delusional guy, but guess what? You're going to jail, Dana White, because you're a criminal. Yeah. And how's that been proven? Because when the writ of certiorari gets approved, guess what? Everything gets pulled up to the Supreme Court, and the case gets relooked at. And guess what? You're going to jail, 100%. There isn't a doubt in my mind. Like I said, these guys should have killed me years ago. They just thought they could kill me now, but the thing is, the difference is it's too late for them now. They're still going to jail. The difference is that they thought that had me over the brow because they had my lawyer. They paid my lawyer off. And like I said, I don't have the evidence of the transaction, but I have got the evidence of a malpractice.
Okay.
That speaks volumes by what she has done as a lawyer. As a lawyer, she's ruined her whole life and career by throwing my case, making, fraud, forgeries, stealing evidence, not telling me about the mediation. She even sold me a product called the tar cutter. And that's not even to do anything with his lawsuit. That is a bit of malpractice right there.
What is that product? What is it?
It's a filter for weed.
It is.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the lawsuit, but she brokered the deal. And that's when I that was 7.5 years. I found out later because I didn't even bother about my case. And when I met my missus, she said, "Oh, what's happening with the case?" And I said, "Oh, I just gave her $100,000 for a product called the tar cutter, stone cutter tech." And then she goes, "Oh, that's illegal, Mark." And I'm like, "What?" And then that's when the change started happening, when we started finding out, because that alone is malpractice by itself. But then we dug deeper into the evidence and everything. We got all the evidence of her malpractice, and I'm sitting there going, that's why it took 7.5 years, because it took that long to find out, what she did. And then we had to wait till the Ninth Circuit mandated, their ruling, before I can sue her, before I can see the damages. And that was a process, like I said. But once this is, we should be in mediation soon. Hopefully the judge rules for mediation and this goes to that, and then that's over. And then the writ of certiorari won't be too far behind that, to be honest. And that's when the laws change for sport, all contact sport. The insurance has changed, and like for running a show like that show, you've got to have proper coverage. You can't just, have a in-house steroid user company. I mean, you got to have the test before the fight. You got to have all these things done before. And why would an insurance company insure a promotion if they don't have their protocols up to date, up correct? There's a standard that you've got to meet, And already, like I said, they've already affirmed in the Ninth Circuit that Hunt v. Zulfer, it's out, like I said, it's already battery. It's already confirmed there's battery when someone, because my consent wasn't given. And Judge Rawlinson said, his consent wasn't given. So that's battery already. So if someone that's using steroids, you cast them when you're fighting, that's $350,000. And that's just not the point about the money. The point is you can lose your license as a fighter. That's to start with.
Yeah. And your life, if someone's juiced up to the eyeballs.
Well, that didn't matter to UFC or Dana White, did it? They didn't give a stuff. They just said, what? Fuck this guy. We just run him in. We just feed him to this cheating-ass rat. Because for me, I call that premeditated murder because, 3 months you got to fight someone, you start juicing up, and then you go into fight against this guy. How is that not illegal? Especially when you have a contract in place saying, this is supposed to protect my account or whoever the fighter is. But when you don't use the enforcement policies, what does that say? You're allowing these guys to dope. Yeah. They're just scumbags. The whole, MMA went bitter for me after realizing and finding out all this stuff. But, it's taken a long time to fight this battle, especially, losing, money, the mockery from people for since 2018, or even earlier, but just, it's financially been draining and mentally been hard, but, the journey is nearly over for this part of it. But the benefits will come through with all the kids playing sport, all contact sport,
Safely, and props to you for sticking it out. And yeah, it's mockery and all that, but I say, fuck them, stay strong. You're doing the right thing.
100%. And that's what it's all been about. Like I said, when God put this in my mind, and I said, this is not about money, this is about making things right. And like I said, when people don't say nothing, it continues to happen. And it's been continuing to happen for decades and decades, not just combat sports, but all contact sports, where people just seem to turn a blind eye and say, oh, that's all right. We'll leave it for the next one. No, it's not okay to cheat. Why do you put these guys like John Jones and these idiots on pedestals when they're doping out of their minds? They're shortcut takers. Why do we give these guys, props for cheating? Because all he's done, they said, if he could do what he could do without cheating, then fine. But the bottom line is with all these shortcut takers is that's all they are. They're nothing but gutless people that can't do it properly like everyone else. They can't get up every day. They can't grind it. And all they can do is just say, look, and when they do get caught, what happens?
Nothing.
Oh, here's a fine for you. Go and sit at the back of the bus and wait for a year. No.
Some people only fight once or twice a year these days anyway.
So what happens if he's killed that person? Or that woman, or and that. What happens if he's murdered them? And that, when he's doping, what happens then? Who has to pay for that?
There's no money in the world that can pay for that. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. But the people that pay for it is the family, the kids that lose their person, or whoever. They're the ones that pay for this.
So, Ollie,
what recourse do they have?
Yeah, that's it. Ollie, you had something to add. I think you wanted to ask you a question earlier.
Yeah, I was going to ask Mark, like, we obviously there's an issue here with the UFC and whatnot. Do you have a personal issue with Brock Lesnar for what he did?
Look, like I said, I can't blame the guy for being a coward. For him to be hanging out with someone like me, he's got to cheat. Just like when I look at all these cheaters, for them to hang out with someone like me, they've got to. It takes an average fighter to be above average like me. That's what I am. I'm above average. These guys cheat to hang out with me, and that's the difference here.
So we're gonna round up now. So I've got a couple of things to finish off on. So to conclude, we thought Dana White was going to be good for boxing. No one asked Dana White the tough questions. We've heard it from the horse's mouth right here that he's a corrupt motherfucker. And you've got to use your brain. Why the fuck is he trying to get rid of the Muhammad Ali Act in boxing? That is there to save the fighters. And he can say he wants to reinvest it back in the sport all he wants. Why can't we have transparency in the contract? Like, this money from the profits is going to academies for boxers.
So hasn't he done that for UFC?
Exactly.
He talks about going to save boxing, but when has he saved the UFC?
No,
he's done nothing. All he's done was he's created a sport. He's taken from the sport of MMA. You know, all he does is taken from it. And after the class action lawsuit, after 4 years, it goes back to normal. So they can still take advantage of people. You know, these class action lawsuits like the one they've just won. When things don't change after 4 years, it goes back to the way they're doing it, like slave contracts. That's all it is. They've got slavery contracts. And like I said, let's see if you can sue me, Dana White. You're a criminal. Don't bother going to boxing.
I'm from Blackpool, yeah. So what they call us donkey lashes in my town, yeah. It seems like to me that with this Muhammad Ali Act and everything and all those lawsuits, not just you other people, Dana White, he's rode the UFC or MMA like a donkey to the last fucking minute, fucked it off, and now he's trying to do it in boxing. So I say, fuck that guy. We don't want him in boxing. Like what I'm hearing is more evidence, and no one's asking him the tough questions, and he's not coming out and answering them. He's just bullshit, baffles brains. He's trying to do that. My last question for you, Mark, is, and if he's watching this, I have a great idea. You and Brock Lesnar, bare knuckle fight, said it all, winner takes all. That's what should happen. I'm telling you, would you do it?
I've already taken it all. I've already taken everything. You know, like I said,
I mean, bare knuckle fight. You said bare knuckle rules, bare knuckle in the ring. Would you fight him with bare knuckle?
I wouldn't waste my time, even when you say he's going to be drug tested, because you can't trust any of them. None of their words mean anything. When you see these guys, when they have their rules and regulations and they break their own rules and regulations, you say, well, what's the point of having that? What's the point? Where is your transparency? Why are you guys trying to take out the Ali Act? Because you guys are criminals.
No one's asking that question.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. You know why I know it makes sense to me? Because I know they're trying to steal. They're stealing from everybody. That's what they're doing.
That's the only thing that you can come up with. He's not coming out and answering that question. No one's asking him, and he's not answering it. That tells me you're right, and what I was thinking.
He won't answer those questions.
He wants to steal, or why would you want that abolished? It makes no sense.
You know why he won't answer those questions? Because he's a liar. That's bottom line. And like I said, you know, if you see this, they're not try and sue me. I'd love to see you try. I mean, I've already said you've said all these things about me, and I've said this about you, but the difference is with what I've said is it's all fact, material facts. I've got the evidence. I've got all the receipts. So, you know, good luck with living in the desert, my friend.
Anything to add, Ollie, before we finish?
No, grateful to meet you. Grateful for you to have me on the channel as always, Chris. Grateful to meet you, Mark.
Nice to meet you guys. I apologize if you're a UFC fan to put a downer on that for you, to be honest. But that's, like I said, I'm only speaking from what I see on my table. I only speak the truth. There's no point in me lying or sugarcoating whatever it is. Like I said, I'm not just talking about it. I'm going through it.
Yeah. Mark, you have nothing to apologize. On my channel, we talk the truth. We don't.
All right, I like that.
So don't apologize for telling the truth. Like and subscribe.
All right, thank you.
Subscribe. Boxing Bros UK out. Marco Hunt. Legend.
See you, bro. Nice to meet you. See you guys. Thank you. Thank you, man.